Fresh Brownies.
Hello, my name is Leonard Samuels, and I'm the author of The Sun Guardian. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to read to you the first chapter, entitled The Sun Guardian. On every planet there's a celestial realm between the surface world and space known as Utala, a place in which gods walk freely and if they desire to do so, cross the bridge between them. Over time, however, the gods have plagued man for centuries, and thus a guardian was bestowed upon each world to protect the surface dwellers from harm. But, with every realm abiding by their own laws, there was need for a galactic enforcer, someone to keep them all from waging war against one another, and shine a light upon the darkness of evil, if it ever should arise. Poof! The noxious fumes of the sun's volcanic gas billows across its radial surface, only to reveal a golden kingdom known as the Celestial City of Solaria. A place in which the skies are drenched in a sea of fire and loom over a nation built from steel and volcanic black stone that cobble the streets. This world is a home to a group of shimmery, yellow-skinned, hard-working people with hair made of embers and warrior spirit. They are known as Solarians. Each is a descendant of the legendary phoenix bird, who hasn't been seen for over 1,000 years. A rare sight indeed, for this wondrous creature is a symbol for rebirth and everlasting hope. While traveling along the outskirts of town, constructed like an iron cathedral, standing proudly amongst its people, high upon the land is the royal palace. The front gate is a large, circular steel doorway engraved with the city's sun emblem, like a badge of honor. Inside the estate, the courtyard is filled with hundreds of guards making their rounds to ensure the safety of the mild-tempered King Rov and his playful granddaughter, Princess Celeste. The young girl has fiery red curls that flow down her backside along with big doughy hazel eyes, just like her mother's. Although she lacks the grace of a highly trained member of her family, she has a cunning mind and is quick on her feet. One day, Celeste hopes to become Queen of Solaria, but until then, she would have to wait her turn, for she was the youngest of three: Cyrus, her older brother, and his twin sister, Sulia, both of who were 10 years older than Celeste and had a very different upbringing. Their father, Kai, the current Sun Guardian, raised his two eldest to become soldiers. Every day was another training exercise and in preparation of their future. Cyrus and Sulia excelled in all obstacles they faced, and it wasn't long before they worked together to command their own unit, while at the same time responding to missions that didn't require their father's attention. Sadly, a year after Celeste was born, a terrible tragedy struck the kingdom, in which the Titan of Destruction destroyed their empire and left it in ruins. It was after that horrendous act that it would forever be known as the Day of Embers, and upon that travesty, their mother, Eldra, had died, and with her the heart of the family. It was then that King Rov, the former Sun Guardian, proposed that he would look after Celeste if Kai would carry on his legacy for him. Knowing that his father had become quite old and could no longer perform his guardianship duties, Kai agreed to carry on the tradition, hoping he could protect those who could not protect themselves. From that moment on, Rov relinquished the ancient power to Kai, a power that he would never wield again. With his strength diminished and both sons no longer bound to his side, he became the guardian of Celeste, while Kai periodically returned home, regaling his youngest daughter with tales of his adventures. Because Celeste was no longer being brought up by the taskmaster her father once was, she was raised in a manner her mother would surely have approved of, to be loved and to never be exposed to the reality of war until this fateful day. Inside the lavish palace bedroom of Princess Celeste, her grandfather, with whom she spent every day, sat in a corner chair and kept her company. King Rov was an older gentleman with a frail physique and a long beard that burned down to his chest. He wore a shimmering sun crown upon his head, while his armor shone with a rich chrome finish, with glints of gold that reflected like a disco ball. Along his shoulders were two golden sun pendants that anchored his luxurious white cape, while his skirt followed the manner of the ancient Roman warriors and was pure in essence and made from the finest cloth that draped past his knees. With such beautiful attire, it was unfortunate his features couldn't present the same. His skin was weathered from battle, and time had proven that baldness was inevitable. But what he lacked in appearance he made up in experience, especially in combat. Once a soldier himself, he fought against the greatest foes and monsters in history, from demons that destroyed planets to fearsome immortals bent on galactic domination. He'd even killed a titan in the past, the most formidable of creatures any guardian could ever face, with the strength to tear a man's soul from his flesh. Would you like me to read you the legend of the Sun Guardian? Rav opened the book with a warm, loving tone. That's okay, Grandpa. I'll tell it this time, Celeste smiled, knowing it word for word, as she moved around the room barefoot, acting out each scene from the story while wearing her favorite pink silk pajamas. The Sun Guardian, she spoke dramatically. An ancient order of celestial protectors sworn to keep the peace and balance in our galaxy. But throughout history, the quest for world domination had become she struggled to find the word. Imminent, he corrected her. Yes, imminent, she continued confidently, by those ready to wage war and rule with malicious power. In order for the Sun Guardian to protect our lives from evil, they must be prepared to lose theirs. She then fell to the ground and played dead. But she sprang back to her feet. The Sun Guardian is brave, bold, and powerful. Wham! Her fist struck a large plush griffin, which toppled over in a pathetic manner. Do you think I could be the Sun Guardian one day? She pouted. I think you'd make an excellent guardian, he winked. Are you sure? I haven't even been to another realm, let alone gone on any adventures. Plus, I'm by far the weakest in this family, she moped. What? You'll have plenty of advantage, and you're certainly strong, but you should always remember that brute strength is no match for the power of teamwork, Celeste. Now, go ahead and show me one of your kicks. He rallied with excitement. Okay, but don't try this at home, she pointed at him with a goofy grin. Here goes nothing. The flames in her hair flickered faster as she focused. Kia! Her foot shot straight into the air as Rob looked on with amazement, but the force of it had too much power as her bottom foot slipped out from beneath. Oomph! She cried, rubbing her head from the throbbing pain. I told you, Grandpa, I'm terrible, she wept with frustration. You're as bad as your father was when he was your age. Roth chuckled at her misery. It's not funny, she snarled at him. I'm sorry, dear. Try again, but this time, snap your leg back. After the kick, he coached her. Okay, she dusted herself off and got back into a ready position to attempt the kick again. Key, scratch! Huh? An odd noise pulsed from her bedroom door. Did you hear that? She asked her grandfather. No. Ralph shrugged with confusion. Scratch, scratch! It pulsed again. There's something outside! Celeste felt a cold chill as she crouched behind his chair. It's okay, dear. He lifted his cape just enough for her to peek out. Celeste, let me in. An eerie voice hissed through the wall. She dipped her head back under Rolf's cape with terror as he glanced at the door, then back at her and grinned. Well, we better check it out. He rolled his eyes and stood up, revealing her cradle underneath his cape. Grandpa, wait! She held on to him and dragged her to the door. You ready? He whispered while grasping the golden handle. Hold on. She leapt opposite of him, taking a big gulp of courage and grabbing a nearby moon scepter as her weapon. Ready! She bravely nodded as he turned it. Whoosh! The door flung open as he marched out of the room while Celeste nervously awaited his return. No one's there. He re-entered, baffled with surprise. What? She scoffed with disbelief. See for yourself. He held the door ajar for her as she gullibly walked out of the room. I guess he's right. She looked to her left. Nothing down the hall. But then she turned to her right. Roar! The beast let out a savage roar. Ah! It's going to eat me! She tripped as the monster loomed over her like a grizzly bear about to devour its prey. The creature wore an ancient skeletal mask with long, devilish horns and dragon fangs that could tear her flesh apart. This is the end, she cried, paralyzed with fear. Roar! The ravenous animal branched out its arms as she shut her eyes in terror. Roar! The hall filled with laughter. I'm sorry, my little fireball, I couldn't resist. The beast joked in a deep, warm, loving tone whilst removing the headdress. That voice, she realized who it was. Daddy, why would you scare me like that? She yelled with a mixture of relief and anger. I said I'm sorry. Her father hugged her with tender arms. Kai was a tall, distinguished man who had the build and presence of a mountain, with vibrant red eyes like his father, radiant golden skin and hair that burned like a bright blue torch with a Spartan spear that commanded authority. His power alone was unmatched by anyone in the kingdom and rivaled even the strongest of guardians. He also wore a uniform specially designed just for him that resembled Roman warrior battle armor, where the chestplate, form, and shin guards were a combination of crimson and black steel, with powerful blood-red sash wrapped around his waist and skirt draped past his knees. His long red cape, which gently kissed the ground, was tattered at the ends, displaying a history of battles, with two beautiful golden crests anchored at his chiseled shoulders with a mighty chain to keep it in place. In addition to the suit's design, it allowed for the wearer to reach his full potential and withstand immense heat without destroying the armor. And finally, in a display of visual beauty and with the use of magic provided by the king's royal blacksmith, the uniform showcased within it the orbiting planets in the galaxy with twinkling stars that shimmered like glitter, and the sun, from where he derived all his power, remained anchored at the center of his chest, burning brightly as a symbol of hope. "I hate pranks," Celeste complained. "I just couldn't help myself, but trust me, this isn't as bad as what your grandfather used to do to your uncle and me." Kai gave Rob a dirty look. "Who, me?" he retorted. "Yeah, you. Remember it was during the time of the Celestial Ball when Carl and I were younger, and you placed Titan boa snakes in our bedrooms? I couldn't sleep for weeks after that," Kai recalled, upset at the memory. "What's a Titan boa snake?" Celeste pondered. "Well, think of a 50-foot serpent with razor-sharp fangs and a grip that could crush boulders into pebbles while striking at lightning speed." Her father spooked her as she turned pale with fear. "Ah, yes, now I remember. That taught you both not to come back home past curfew," Rob reminisced. "Besides, they weren't even fully grown snakes, you big baby," he added as Kai shook his head in disappointment at him. "They're not even legal here," he uttered while his father nodded with fond memory. "Good times," the king patted himself on the back. "Well, anyways, did you bring me anything from your trip to Saturn?" Celeste squealed with the intent of a good gift to make it up to her. This mask is pretty neat, right?" Kai placed it on her nightstand as she darted her eyes at it. "Or I could just get you something better next time," he said regretfully while she pouted. "Okay. Well, did you see any Titans there at least?" She hoped for a good story as Kai paused and thought for a moment. "I didn't see any Titans, but I did save a small village on their surface world. You see, a great fire of volcanic proportions had spread, destroying everything in its path." He captivated her. "Wow, what did that?" Celeste was hooked. "Not what, who," Kai answered mysteriously. "What did you do?" She hung on his every word, while he spared the gruesome details of the flesh melting off their bones with the scent of charred bodies filling the air and shrieks of terror howling in the wind. "I rushed into each hut, rescuing as many lives as I could, until finally I came to the last hut. I was engulfed in flames, too hot for any mortal to survive, and hotter still any celestial. 'Help!' a voice called out as I hurtled over falling debris and crashed from the ceiling in search of them." "And then what?" Celeste shrieked with anticipation as he paused. "That's when I saw him." He pointed at the mask. The man turned and ran, as though he was leading me somewhere, so I pursued after him. "Stop!" I yelled, but he didn't respond. Finally, I had him trapped, for he surely was the culprit responsible for this massacre. "Who are you?" I demanded, but he simply stared back at me as the flames danced between us. I was just about to grab him when I heard a child's cry from afar. I turned away for a second, but when I looked back, he was gone, and all that remained was the mask. "Who was he?" Celeste wondered. "Not sure, but the rumor is that there's a ghost that walks amongst the people of that village and is trapped in a spirit realm and seeks a way out." He spooked her. "And what about the child?" She wished for a happy ending. "I saved him," he calmly replied as her face transformed from anxiety to relief. "Yeah, Dad, you saved everybody!" She leapt into his arms as Kai nestled against her loving embrace, placing his large hand upon her head while the flames flickered between his fingers. He took a deep breath to bask in the moment, then glanced at the corner of her nightstand where framed in all its glory was a small painted portrait of Eldra, his wife and mother of his children, the love of his life, who he would never, ever see again. "Not everyone," he whispered softly. "Celeste, do you want to give your father the thing that you made for him today?" Rob had nearly forgotten. "Oh yeah!" She ran to her drawer to fish it out before returning with her hand cupped as though coveting a sacred artifact. "Ahem!" She signaled to Kai's knee for him to bend down and then began her speech. "Prince, Daddy, I present to you a gift from your daughter, Princess Celeste, of the celestial city of Solaria. Kai looked at his father impressed. So formal. She's been practicing all day for when she becomes queen, Rav replied as Kai nodded with approval. Eyes here, mister, she snapped with impatience as his face quickly changed to shock. And a fierce queen at that, Kai apologized. As I was saying, this is a prayer necklace to keep you safe and that you always return home from your journeys ahead. She placed the necklace over his head. The beads were carved from volcanic black stone with a tribal crimson sun pendant at the center. Kai grinned with pride. Then, he and Celeste locked pinkies to seal his oath with her. Thank you, Princess Celeste. I promise I will always return. Kaboom! A massive quake rocked the castle. And that concludes the first chapter to the Sun Guardian. And our quote is, brute strength is no match for the power of teamwork. Stay tuned for chapter 2 coming soon on Fresh Brownie Productions.